So hopefully you're in the right place and you came here to talk about Gemini in Google Classroom. We're going to go through a few features. I can't cover all the features in 1 hour. There are too many of them. So I picked a few of my favorites. So it's very personal. There might be others that you want to test out, but I invite you to click on all of them and test them out and see which ones actually work for you. So in case you have no idea who I am, here's my big face on your screen with better makeup. My name is Alexandra. I used to be an ESL teacher. I'm about an hour away from Montreal, situated in Quebec. So I used to teach English as a second language and made the move to become a tech coach and work with teachers. And I'm also a certified trainer. You see all these badges at the bottom of it. I love to get all these certifications and keep up to date. So I'll show you how you can get those certifications towards the end. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate. My email is on the second slide, and you will be receiving the slides in an email tomorrow morning. As soon as I get up, I'll make sure to send the video and the slides to you. So you'll be able to go through the slides again, maybe, step by step, take the time. You're allowed to share with colleagues as well. If they didn't register, please do. Please share that email with the recording and the slides. And my email is on that second slide. If in a few weeks you try something and you go, but she said I could do this and I don't know how, don't stay stuck. Email me. I'll be happy to just screenshot for you or email you and tell you, here's where you need to click. So you have my email in there. Please don't hesitate. I'm also part of the GEG. That was one of my little badges at the bottom. I'm part of GEG Quebec, but there are GEGs in many provinces. Not all of them. We're recruiting today. If you want to volunteer, please send me your name and we'll add you to the list. But what is a GEG? It's a Google Educator Group. It is like an initiative by educators for educators. It is not something that Google is doing, even though they're so helpful, but it is educators who get together and share and help each other out. In Quebec, for example, ironically, we have a Facebook group. Yes, we're on Facebook with Google, but that works. It works everywhere. And teachers are sharing lessons, asking questions, saying, yeah, I have a project that I want to do. What do you think? And then Darren will answer and give suggestions, and people will collaborate. You have one in Alberta, one in Toronto, one in Ontario. So you have two in Ontario, and of course, one in Quebec. The one in Quebec is in French. So if you have French second language teachers that want to join, even though they're in Alberta, please send them our way. We try to translate things a lot, announcements and ideas. And one is coming from British Columbia, Manitoba. But see, we're missing a couple. So if you're not seeing your province in there, email me. It's not a lot of work. It's just basically helping each other out and collaborating. So email me if you have questions. As a quick reminder, we're going to talk about Gemini in Classroom. Gemini is what's behind basically Gemini in Classroom, which is why it's called Gemini in Classroom. But I want to remind you that Gemini in education is different than your personal accounts. You have a Gemini for Education account, which means you have enterprise level data protection. Now, if you want to read the entire contract and you want to check it out, it's in there. It's in the slides. But basically, let me summarize it for you. It basically means Gemini does not train on your data. So whatever you put in there, if it creates a lesson plan, you upload your personal notes, it will not train on your data. It also means nobody at Google is reading through your stuff. Basically, it's called a core service, just like Google Classroom is a core service. When you put a lesson plan in Google Classroom, it's not used to train anything. It's not shared with anybody. So basically, same thing. The other advantage is you have higher limits with an education account. And what I'm going to show you today works with all editions. So Gemini in Classroom is with Fundamentals, Education Plus, whichever edition that you have. Everything I'm going to show you today actually works everywhere. Now let's take a look at Gemini in Classroom. Now, when you open Google Classroom, and we're going to go and check it out in a second, you will basically, when you click on Gemini in Classroom, be taken to a page that kind of looks like this. The first portion at the top is your filter, and you'll see that often you get this little new tag that lets you know there's a new feature because they keep adding all these new features to it. So pay attention to that little tab. When I see new, I always click. That's me. I don't know for you, but I'm always curious. I always want to check it out. So if I open Gemini one morning, there's something that says new, I click on it. So filters. Then this first section, which is called scaffolded tools. And I will tell you the difference between the two in a minute. We're going to see. But scaffolded tools are more guided tools where they'll ask you questions to help you generate something. The second section that you see in blue with this little arrow means it's going to open in Gemini. It has that logo that lets you know once you click on it, it will open a new tab and actually open up Gemini, and it will pre-write the prompt for you. It might pre-write the whole thing and then generate what it needs to generate, or it might start asking you questions, but will actually open in Gemini. Remember, your Gemini will open in your education account, whatever you answer, protected data, everything's safe in there. At the bottom, you have more Google AI tools. You have a shortcut to create images with the Gemini, and you also have GEMS and Notebook LM. If you don't know what Notebook LM is, we have sessions coming up on Monday that you can attend to check out. If you're not already registered, I'll give the links later if you want to register. So basically, this is your landing page for Gemini in Classroom. So the first one I want to show you are the scaffolded tools. Now, it's the first section at the top, and they have colorful icons, which lets you know that not only are these tools that are going to guide you step by step, but they often talk to other tools in your Google Workspace for Education. It might open up a forms. It might work with slides. It might work with Google Sheet, for example. Not all of them are going to work the same way with the same tools, but it actually integrates with everything. And some of them you can actually share directly to Google Classroom as an assignment. So we're going to take a look at a few. I told you I can't take a look how many there are, and they keep adding new ones. So I picked 3 that I want to show you. Those that I would use right away myself, but they're all wonderful to check out. So I want to check out the first one, which is called Outline a Lesson Plan. This one will allow you to describe the topic that you want, give information, and then generate a lesson plan with activity ideas and lots of details for an upcoming project. Now, of course, you have your professional judgment hat on every time that you read through those lesson plans. Not that it's going to give you something that is inappropriate. It's just sometimes not doable. So I remember this art teacher that asked for a lesson plan. The idea was absolutely wonderful, but it was a very messy activity. And with only 10 minutes between classes, there was no way she could pick up paint off the wall. But she switched the idea and brought the idea outside in the summer. So that made more sense. So sometimes you'll have to, they might give you an idea that might not be doable for you, but you might be able to reuse it somehow. So professional judgment always when we use it. So basically the way it works is you'll enter information, give details, and it will generate a full lesson plan for you. And as I said, a lot of these tools will work with your suite of tools, while this one works with Google Docs. So you'll be able to export to Doc and share it with a colleague, for example, or share it with a substitute teacher if you have to be absent, and generate a lesson plan. So that's the lesson plan one. The other one I'm going to go and show you in a minute is generate a quiz. That one is one of my favorites. It works with Google Forms and generates a form for you. And the last one I'm going to show has that new tag. So of course I had to go and test it out, called Create an Audio Lesson. So generates an actual audio podcast and actually works with Google Slides as well. So best to actually see it in action. I'm going to go and show you how to do it. And I'm actually going to put you to work after and give you a few minutes to go and check it out or check out other suggestions that you might have. So let me exit my presentation and go to Gemini in Classroom. Now, Gemini in Classroom is right here on the side panel where you see Gemini. So you might not see it as big. You see it here on the left side. And then you arrive at this landing page that I just showed you in my presentation. The first section has the filters. It will tell you when a new section has a new tool that you can test out. Then you have your scaffolded section here, and then you have your starter prompts, which we'll do after. So let's start with the lesson plan one, which is the very first one here. Outline a lesson plan. Now, notice how it's kind of like a form to fill out where it's asking me to input the information. Sometimes easier than to start directly with Gemini, because I might forget a few details to give it, but you could totally open Gemini and say, I want a lesson plan for my grade 6. Here's the target. Here are my learning objectives. Here's everything. But if I forget some parts, it might not be as complete as what you're going to get here. So it's a good starter way to lesson plan with Gemini in Classroom. So let's say I have grade 6 students. I have 2 types of lesson plans I can use, the general, the 5E, explore, explain, and so forth. Let's go with the general lesson plan. I just want ideas because I have something I want to teach and I want just to brainstorm different activities. So describe the topic and standard you want to teach. So I want to review, facts and opinions with my students. Kind of something important these days to differentiate between a fact and an opinion. So here we go. I want to review facts and opinions with my students. I can give more details than that. Of course, I could continue the conversation and explain exactly what I want. But for the sake of demo, I'm going to go quickly here. I have an upload from Drive, so I could give notes, or I could give parts of the program that I want to, or here are texts, or here's what I'm looking for. But I'm going to click here, and let's say I'm done. Generate learning objectives. And that's one of the things I really like. It makes it pedagogical. It makes me think of what are my learning objectives here? What do I want my students to learn with this activity? Kind of forces me to think of it every single time. So here it suggested learning objectives, said students will distinguish between factual statements and personal opinion. Students will create original sentences. So I could modify this. I could type in the square and add things if I wanted to. I could also regenerate learning objectives, but if I'm happy with it, I leave it as is. And here's an optional one that I really, really like and might make it more precise when you do it. Describe your class. So maybe the size of your class, maybe the resources you have available. Remember my arts teacher that like the activity was, really messy, or classroom was very small, not something she could do. She could have mentioned it here. I want an activity that actually works in a small classroom. I can't move the desks, for example. Students can't move around between the desks. The class is so full. The number of students might be something I want to say, but there's also something about learning needs. Like I want an activity where my students are going to work in groups a lot, or I prefer an activity where my students are going to work independently. So here I'm going to say I have a big group of students, and then say 32 students. Is that a big group? To me, that's a big group, right? So a big group of 32 students. I want a good balance of individual work and group work. Final activity needs to be a discussion that I can evaluate. So I gave more details. I could go on and give more details about the interest of my students. I could say my students are really into hockey, for example. And then I'm going to click on Generate Lesson Plan. Now, it might take a few minutes, depending on how much info you gave it, how many documents you gave it to go through. This one should go pretty quickly, and it will generate what I like to call as the first version, because it doesn't have to be the final version. So here, it said slapshot facts and power play opinions. So went all into the hockey theme here. But what I like is that it gave me the lesson overview, gave me all the material I need, preparation. This part I really like, common misconceptions that could happen, and then gave me 3 different activities and even an assessment exit ticket at the end. So if I don't like some of the activities, I have a space here where I can prompt Gemini and say activity 3 is maybe a little too much, or there's too much group work in the activity that you gave me, or there's no way I have access to some of this material. I don't have access to NHL team statistics. So can you remove that for me, for example? So I could actually interact with Gemini here. I could also use the suggestions that are here, and they actually are super interesting to check out. Incorporate options for more student choice, transform the lesson to incorporate more student-centered engagement, add more teacher facilitation instruction. And you'll notice that they change depending on what was generated. So it might make sense to actually go through it and see what are the added suggestions. Let's pretend I'm super happy. This is perfect. A first shot thing. I'm actually happy with everything. I have this blue export button that allows me to export in Google Docs. So I could export to Doc because I'm connected to my account. It will automatically go to my Google Drive. It created this document, even has the sections that I can navigate in. And of course, I can share with a colleague, rework, add information, and work with it. This next session is a section I really like, generate resources. It has 3 sections. The first one is find relevant video resources. So if I click on it, it will actually search YouTube for videos that make sense to go with my lesson. It takes a few seconds. And of course, I have to watch the videos to make sure that they work with my lesson. But you can totally incorporate these videos. And if I click on it, it will add the link to my lesson plan. So I have it in my document. I have to do this before I export to Google Docs. But I could select some of the videos and notice how there's a show more, and it actually gave me all of these videos it pulled up on facts and opinion. The next one is called create more hooks. So for each activity, I could ask for more hooks to begin the activity. And then I have a generate a quiz button that could actually create this exit ticket here that it's suggested. So I have a full lesson with a quiz that can be generated with video lessons. And of course, you could use the interactive questions. If you have Teaching and Learning or Education Plus in Google Classroom, I can add this video, add interactive questions, ask Gemini to give you interactive questions and add to it. Now, I could generate the quiz from here, but I'm going to go and generate the quiz from the made page, which is one of the scaffolded activities. So generate a quiz is right here. Let's say I want to do an exit ticket at the end of my class. I want something simple just to see if they understood the difference between fact and opinion. So I'm going to go grade 6, only 3 questions. We're going to go something super quick and simple. And I want facts and an opinion. I'm going to write facts properly and opinion. And again, notice how it's forcing me to generate learning objectives to make sure that the questions are going to be aligned with something I want my students to learn. So let's say I reviewed this. I'm happy with it. If not, I can regenerate, I can modify. But let's say I'm happy. I go here to choose question types. Now, this is optional. I could let Gemini decide what kind of question are appropriate here. But for the sake of time, I want something with just multiple choice and just short answers for my students. Long answer is there, and true and false is there as well. So I'm going to generate. And this time you'll see I have a lot more options to export in this one. So I review the questions. I have 3 questions. Not sure I like the level of the vocabulary. I can come here and tell Gemini, could you adapt the vocabulary to my student? This word and this word is maybe too complicated. So of course I can play with it before I export. Again, I have the suggested prompts, which are nice to check out and often give me ideas of, I never thought of adding this. So simplify the sentence, include some sentence starters, format this quiz to share with students, for example. And then I have this export button. And notice how this time I don't just have Google Docs, Google Docs is right there. If I click on it, will actually open in my account, save to my Google Drive, and I'll be able to use the questions. Maybe you use another tool to quiz your students, then you can cut and paste and use it with your Google Doc. But then you also have export to forms, and you also have add to class. If I like it as is, I can click on add to class. A box will open. I can select my class, and I can select if I want this to be used as an assignment, a quiz, or just material and so forth. But if I want to export to forms, I can actually then play with it, change the colors, add questions if I want to, and actually created the quiz. See how fast that was? It's in Google Forms. It's in my account. If there is an answer key, it will actually be in already. So notice how it was multiple choice. So it actually did the answer key. Of course, if I want this to be 3 points, I can come and modify before I send to my students, but everything is in there, even actually gave me the short answer. Of course, if it's a long answer, you'll have to correct it manually. It will not give you the exact long answer it's looking for. That would be way too many choices to choose from. But short, multiple choice, and true or false will actually give you the answer key. Of course, I can come and play with this. I can make it a different color. I can add images, and it's saved in my drive, and I can now share it. So love how quickly you can create quick little quiz that you can send even on the fly while they're all discussing. I create this quiz at the end of the class, send it in classroom, and I can check for understanding. So the quiz one is one that I really like, generate a quiz. The last one I'm going to show you before I give you a minute or two to play around and go and discover is the one that I mentioned on creating, where is it? Where's my audio one? I'll create an audio lesson. It didn't have the new anymore. It's not that new. It's not new anymore. So it was new to me not so long ago. There's so many new features that new is old like 2 hours later. So generate an audio lesson this time. I told you it generates an audio file and can generate Google Slides as well. So same topic. This time I want an audio lesson that I can use, for example, to hook my students, send them the audio lesson to listen before we talk about facts and opinions in class, or maybe I want it as a review and send it off as homework to just basically review facts and opinion. So again, I'm going to do grade 6, and my topic is facts and opinions. And what comes up again? Generate learning objectives, because it is a pedagogical tool. So let's say I'm happy. This is what I want. I could regenerate. I could modify. And here's where I can personalize the audio lesson. Now here, the audio lesson is always teacher and student. So it's really a review. Your 2 characters are always the same one, but you do have the choice of 3 different teachers and 3 different students that you can pick from. So you can generate a couple if you want to and choose a few. You can also choose between 2 voices. I don't know if they're going to add other ones. Honestly, that's enough. I think we have enough to play with and generate a few things. So let's say I'm happy with this teacher and this student and voice 1 and voice 1. I'm going to click on generate audio. Because it's generating audio, it might take a little bit more time than other tools that you just saw. It is pretty fast. And you can watch it create. So right now it's creating the dialogue as we speak between the teacher and the student and re-explaining facts and opinion. Now, while it's generating, I'm going to show you the export button. You have one at the top and one at the bottom, but they basically do the same thing. One is export to drive. Export to drive will download the audio file and place it in your drive. It will just be the audio, kind of like podcast style. So you won't see the faces of the characters. You'll just hear them talking. Maybe that's what you want. You want just the audio. You can share it because it's going to be in your drive. You can share it in Google Classroom and have the students listen to it. Now, if I click on export to slide, it will take a few minutes, but remember what you just saw with the dialogue and the bubbles and kind of the chat going on? Well, it will actually show up here in every single slide. So you can send it as a reading activity, but if you insert as well the audio to it, then they can listen and read the dialogue. So it depends on what your goal is at this point. Do you want them to just read? Do you want them to just listen to the audio? But basically, you can do both. So very easy to create, pretty fast, as you can see. What takes the most time is not generating this stuff. It's thinking of your learning objective. What do you want? What do I want my students to do? So at this point, here's what I'd like you to do. I'm going to give a few minutes and I'd like you to go and play around with the tools. One of the things I notice is students always seem better than us with technology. That's because they click everywhere and they're not scared of breaking things. I promise you're not breaking anything. Click everywhere, try things, try outline a lesson plan that we just saw, or a quiz, or the audio lesson, or try one that I did not show yet. Some I really like. The Creator rubric works with Google Sheets and exports. So maybe you want an evaluation rubric to evaluate that discussion on facts and opinion. The choice board is pretty neat to create activities. I don't know if you're done with your kiddos this year, at this point of the year, but end of year choice board of activities might be a really neat thing to create right now. Vocabulary lists, the one where you re-level a text is super interesting as well. So take a few minutes. It's going to be very quiet. And I want you to take a few minutes to go and try it out before we try the next section, the prompts with Gemini. Quiet is my nightmare. Darren, no. It's never quiet. There's always a voice talking in my head. So
if you want your forms in French, what do you do, Alexandra? Because I've got my methodology of getting en français.
I switch my account to French, and then they're in French.
There you go. You could also just go make it in French in the English
We
one.
could.
Make it in French. That's a pretty good job.
No, Christian, it doesn't exist in French yet. The audio lesson might show up eventually. The options in English and in French are a bit different. You do have the lesson plan. You do have to generate a quiz, however, and they do work super well in French, but the generate an audio lesson is English only for now. So English second language teachers in Quebec, we can use them, and ELA teachers, we can totally use them. And yes, they are different from Notebook LM, Darren. That's like a very good point.
No, but like these
they're
ones
more
are
teacher student centered. These ones, yeah. That I find for, especially like I was grade 6, it makes sense. Notebook LM might be a bit intense as a debate audio in Notebook LM. Works super well in high school.
Like if you need them in French, Notebook LM does.
It does. It does. You need to prompt it to
prompt it
for that vocabulary to work with little ones, however, but yeah.
Sure.
And I don't have info if it's coming in French or not. I did not see that yet. But who knows? Watch out for that new thing. Every time there's something new. Shall we need a feature in Google Meet where we click and there's elevator music? Totally.
Where's your guitar, Darren?
Oh, love that. So we don't need music in Google Meet. We need Darren in every single Google Meet across Canada. So.
Darren, your mic's off if you're actually playing.
No, I wasn't going to subject everyone to that, actually.
I'll give you another minute to play around. I know it's not enough time, but one of the things when we attend webinars, sometimes like we see all these great features, but we don't take the time to click on the actual button. So I was thinking if you have a minute or two to test it out, it might make you want to try it again tomorrow. All right. If you want to use the chat, let us know what you tried out, ideas I gave you. Maybe you didn't try everything yet. I know this was very short, but let us know in the chat what you see are interesting, and which ones you actually think you could use in the classroom. I wish I could go back to the classroom just to test these out. Every time I see these new tools, I want a classroom. So if you're looking for somebody to take over your classroom, let me know. So let's take a look at the next section here, the starter prompts. Now, in this next section, it's going to be a little bit different. So let me go back to my presentation. Starter prompts are in that kind of blue-gray section, and look for that icon that has that arrow, which means it's going to open in another tab and will open Gemini. Some of the starter prompts, as I said, will actually just open, type itself, and then actually generate something. And some others are actually going to ask you a series of questions where Gemini is going to ask you about maybe your grade level or your objectives or what you need. And then you'll need to give details, and then we'll generate something. So starter prompts are a little bit different than the prompts that we had because they will open in Gemini. So let's take a look at a first one, the brainstorm real world examples. And this one is going to be a very long prompt that usually you'd have to give a role and a task and give lots of information. It's going to be pre-written for you. But then it's going to ask you questions. Notice here, hi, I'm here to help to get you started. And it will ask you some questions. So you're kind of being interviewed by Gemini to help you create something pedagogically. Now, as I said, some of them not. The questions are going to be very simple, or it's going to right away generate something. And some will ask you to provide details. So the first one we're going to test out is the real world examples. And then I want us to take a look at the craft engaging discussion prompts and the visualize a concept. So let me exit and go back to Google Classroom, and we're going to actually use the brainstorm real world example that's right here. And notice when I click on it, it will actually open a Gemini tab. And now I'm in Gemini. The prompt it actually wrote for me is here, so I can take a look at it. See how long it is? I would have had to type all of this up. But one thing I like to do is it might be interesting to actually copy it and then modify it. Because notice here, it's going to talk about the US a lot. So I could go through it and use the little arrow. Let me show you that little pencil. I could copy the prompt and reuse it later and modify it if I wanted to. And then I have edit prompt. So I could come, and if you find there are some that are US, and that's up to you if you want to leave it or not, but let's do Canadian examples and see what it does. I don't know if I just messed up the entire prompt. We'll see what it does. But basically, it's going to go through the prompt and then ask me questions. So, hello, I'm Gemini. I'm here to help you get started on some authentic real world connection for your academic content. And then to start, can you tell me a little bit about how you plan to use these real world examples? So I'm teaching fractions, and I want to make this relevant in the real world for my students. So I'm going to say, I'm teaching fractions. That's simple. I don't have to make things complicated. If Gemini doesn't understand, Gemini will ask another question. And Gemini never gets fed up if and we'll just keep asking questions. And then everything is always fantastic as well. It's always a very good idea. You're always the greatest teacher in the world. Love that. It's always a fantastic topic for real world connections. Though it's definitely easy to fall back on the classic and just go pizza slices. I'm fed up of explaining fractions with pizza slices. I need something else that will talk to my kiddos. Let's aim for something much more authentic and engaging. To make sure these examples hit the mark, what grade level are your students and what specific fraction skills? So let's say I'll do little ones, but you guys, if you teach high school, I'm sure you have lots of ideas at this point as well. Let's do grade 4, for example. And I'm just going to do this so it takes less time. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire conversation, but you see how this prompt is very different from just quickly generating a quiz or generating a lesson plan. It's really having me think of how I can approach this. And then I would answer all the questions. It would give me ideas. If it actually pulls up information from a website, it actually cites it and gives me info. Now, here at the bottom, at any point, I can copy the response, take notes. I could export this to docs and say, that was a really good point. Let me get back to it later. And of course, my conversation, even though I started in Gemini in Classroom, even though I jumped to Gemini, if the bell rings and I'm not done, my conversation is in my history and I can find it again. One thing I really like to do, if I'm not done, the bell rang, I like to pin my conversation and make sure I rename it something I'm going to find later and say fraction examples. And then I'll pin the whole thing. And then when I come back at my next free period, I'll be able to find my fraction example. Now, Gemini will be in that conversation waiting for me. No time has passed. If I go back in 60 days, the conversation will continue. It's not like I have to say, well, let me remind you of what we were talking about, because everything is in that conversation and I can keep going. So this was the first one that we tested out. The next one is craft engaging discussion prompts. Now, for this one, I'm going to go back to my facts and opinion idea. I'm not sure I want to have discussion questions on fractions, although I could. It could be something interesting. Who knows? So craft engaging discussion prompts. Again, I click, a box open, and another tab opens and I open in Gemini. Again, I have this long prompt that I can go through. Again, some of them are going to say US. I could use the edit prompt and switch it. Maybe it's not the end of the world at this point. And again, it's going to ask me questions. Can you tell me a little bit about how you plan to use these questions? Are they for an interactive in-class discussion, an online forum, a Socratic seminar, or something else entirely? So I want my students in groups of 4. I will evaluate them on this discussion. Now, notice I made a typo, and Gemini doesn't really mind the typo unless your word actually is a mess and not understood. So don't worry too much about it. And then it's going to continue asking me question. And let's go back to facts and opinions. I need 8 groups of 4. I have a big class. So here you go. And I'm going to keep going. Darren, you have a question while Gemini talks?
What are your options for sharing on the top right there? If you go to your 3 dots, what do you have for sharing? Cool. Share via Drive. Interesting. Different than mine.
This is new. This is brand new. It just came out this week.
Yep.
It has to be on though. So if you still don't have it, sometimes it's not on. But I'm kind of diverting, but it means you can share and it will ask you if you want to share as reader only or restricted. I'm in a fundamentals school account. It's just I managed a console for that one, so I put everything on. So basically, but yeah, and you can share the conversation. Yeah. Great if you're vibe coding, by the way.
Yeah.
Great to share your artifacts and be able to share quickly with students. So if you don't see it, it's coming. It rolled out in some of my accounts, but love sharing through Drive. Same Drive settings. You saw it. Can restrict to my organization, share directly. I can share with Rochelle my conversation and we can, she can participate or just read. So love that. So same thing. I would tell the grade level and everything. Let's do grade 9 this time and see what it comes up with. And it would actually generate. Now, I'm not going to make you wade through all this discussion. I think you get the point. The difference is less of filling up different, kind of like a form that you did before, the grade, the objectives. It's more of a conversation. I can keep going. I can ask for modification. And as always, the 3 dots lets me export to docs, lets me listen to the answer if I want to, and lets me interact with it. Now, the last one I wanted to show you is one to generate visuals. And we're going to actually use visualize a concept, but there are a few, and I'm going to give you a few minutes and a few minutes to test it out, and go test them out if you want to. The comic strip is pretty nice. It is always a favorite. The creative presentation is nice as well, but let's do visualize a concept. Let's come back to my fractions thing. I don't want pizza. I want something about hockey because my class is all about hockey. I'm going to click on visualize a concept, and notice how this has changed. It didn't automatically open to Gemini. So some of them might react differently depending on the type that you choose. So here I have my grade level. Remember, I'm grade 4 this time. I want to review fractions, and I want to describe the illustrations style. So I want hockey team. We'll see, I have no control right now as to demoing these things. I have no idea what Gemini is going to do. So I might be putting myself in danger here. It might not be perfect, but let's generate and ask Gemini. Now, with this info, the prompt is being generated, and it will open up in a few seconds and actually generate the visual. Now, hopefully it will be a nice visual. Here you go. Notice how, and of course, couldn't load the chat and it didn't work. That's always nice when you try to demo things. Let's do it again and hope it works. But usually the way it's supposed to work, it will open up in Gemini and generate your visual. So hopefully it works. If it doesn't, I'm going to let you play around with it and hope it works. Hey, here we go. So, and it generated, and of course it put the pizza thing. So pizza and hockey, see? But actually generated this visual for me. Of course, I did not give it a lot of information. I could have put a lot more info than just hockey team, but it generated an infographic explaining fractions with pizza and somebody playing hockey and eating pizza after. And notice how I have this little arrow here, so I could download it and send it to Classroom, add it to a presentation. I could copy the image and cut and paste it somewhere else. I could actually export to Google Docs, and it will add to a Google Doc. So these little buttons everywhere, every time you hover, you have lots of different buttons. And Darren, this one is new as well, share via Drive. So anything it creates, you can actually share it through Google Drive. So I'm going to give you another couple of minutes, but this time I want you, unless you really want to go back to this section, I am not watching your screen. I don't know what you're doing. So if you want to go back and you still want to play around with the scaffolded ones, you can, but you can actually test out a few of these things. Now, everything that has to generate an image takes a little bit more time, right? And having those long discussions might not, you might not be finished. A few of my favorites, like I said, draw a comic strip is really nice. If you're teaching a novel, it is so wonderful to see a few of the classics. It creates like a kind of an overview, great to hook the students and say, here's what we're going to read. But it can also be about science, about math, about all sorts of topics. So this one is very nice. You might want to try as well. The science lab experiment is actually interesting. You give the level and everything, and it might generate a few interesting ideas. And I really like the Draft a Class newsletter that might give you ideas for the beginning of the year. So, and Rochelle just said, draft a newsletter is really cool. So she agrees. So I'll give you a minute to play around with it. And if you want to go back to the first section, you can. And Darren will play the guitar while we all test it around.
We don't hear it, Darren. It doesn't pick up.
It's on.
It actually blocks out background noise.
Background music and songs. I know. It's not my first rodeo.
So it thinks your guitar playing is background noise.
Remember to turn that one off. Thanks for that.
I love that. Before I stop you, take a moment to actually tell us what you tried in the chat. Maybe give us ideas for what topic, maybe both times. What did you try? For which grade level? Christian says, with visualize a concept, every time I try to create something, it shuts down and nothing happens. Oh, no. We might be asking a lot of your Wi-Fi with the Google Meet and using something to generate. So maybe try it again when you're not in the session. Sometimes that happens when I have large groups. Sometimes there are 30 of us trying to generate things and the Wi-Fi is just not, not cooperating. So that could happen. All right. So I hope you tried a few things. Let us know in the chat. Continue telling us in the chat what you tried out. As I said, there's a section to just explore it, basically just to give you ideas of different things you can try in Gemini. Of course, you can create images. You can use it to brainstorm and create. It actually reminds you that you can use gems and actually use Notebook LM in Google Classroom, in Gemini, sorry. You can actually give feedback here. So whoever told me we don't have the audio lessons in French, maybe click on the button, send feedback. We want audio lessons in French as well. Basically, that's Gemini in Classroom. Now, in the upcoming weeks and months, because things go fast, I want you to check out this little new button and open it every once in a while and see if they add either the scaffolded lesson or they add starter prompts. Now, if you're using in French, a few are missing, but they might show up one at a time with this little tag that says new. So you might want to check it out. So to end, we have 2 more sessions coming up on Notebook LM, one in French and one in English on Monday. If you're not registered for the session, please do so. We're going to send you, you'll have it in the slide, but sign up. All those links will become the same links where the video will be posted, so you can go back to it. If you want to go back to the session and see how I created the lesson plan step by step, you can go back to it. And of course, you can send it to your colleagues, say, here's what I discovered, go check it out. They'll have to pause and test things out themselves, but they can rewatch it at any point. Now, I also want to let you know about other training possibilities, and I'm doing this one. I've done 6 so far, and there are lots of them. There are mini lessons that just came out on how to use Gemini, and really they last 15 minutes. I'm telling you, it takes you 15 minutes to do. And what I love is they're super, super based on pedagogy. For example, that idea to do facts and opinion actually came from a lesson I did on how to talk about facts and opinion with K-2 students. And I have never taught K-2 students. And it actually guided me through how can I ask Gemini to give me sentences I can use to quiz students on, is this a fact or is this an opinion, with the right vocabulary and the right level. So if you go to the website, you'll see you'll need to sign up for it, and you'll go to for K-12. There's one for higher education. Still interesting to see what higher education is doing in terms of how to do research and so forth. If you teach high school, it might be super interesting to check out. But the K-12 are basically 15 minutes Gemini use cases. You get a badge at the end. I love collecting badges. You saw it in my first slide. I love collecting those badges. And you have a little quiz at the end. So it's basically you read, you self-train, you can do it in 15 minutes. It gives you an idea to go and test out in Gemini. You need to sign up to basically know that you get your badge and it follows you basically and knows you completed the lesson, but it's completely free. So super helpful if you want to learn about how to use Gemini. So the QR code is there, but the short link brings you to the page. You'll sign up, and every time you collect a badge, you'll be able to follow it. The other same website, when you go to the website and you sign up, you'll be in the Google AI Educator Series, but there are also certifications that you can take. You saw those badges I had on my second slide. My level 1 and my level 2 I redo regularly to keep in good standing with my training, but they're very good introduction to the suite of tools. It's available in English and in French, by the way, and it's free. So you can actually take the exams. The exams are free right now. You can get your badges. I don't want to make you work over the summer, but if you're anything like me, I used to love the summer to actually sit outside with my computer and actually self-train and play around with these things when I finally had time to actually do this. So you can sign up. You can do the exam right away. You don't have to do the entire course, but it might be interesting to go through the actual self-guided activity. And there's no rush. When you sign up for the exam, you sign up when you're ready, and then you take it at your own pace. There's one called Gemini Educator that's super interesting as well and very pedagogical to really see how you can use and integrate Gemini in your teaching. And there is one for students as well. There are some for faculty and for university students, but I have a few teachers who actually did the Gemini training for educators. So yeah, check it out. The link is there. I think we're putting the link as well. I think you just saw the link. My colleague Chantal just put the link in the chat so you can click, but it will be in the presentation. The images click and you can just be directed to the site. Now, before we end and I end the recording and take questions, please take a moment to give us feedback. The feedback form was just posted in the chat. You can also use the QR code. I won't think you're taking a picture of me. That's okay. And please take some time to give us feedback, but also let us know what other trainings would be helpful. And there's also a space in the form to let us know if you want to be informed of the next trainings. We will make sure to grab these email addresses and let you know. We do post them on social media. They are in Rochelle's newsletter, but you will personally get an email saying, hey, there are new training sessions if you let us know that you want to be informed. So I'll leave this up for a few more seconds. You don't do a newsletter outside of Quebec. Oh, well, now I'm giving you more work. You'll need to have one by province. So now Darren wants a newsletter. So now you can generate a newsletter with Gemini in Classroom. So there you go. You're all set.
Very true. Very, very true.
So let me stop the presentation. Hopefully, maybe Chantal, you can put the form again since I'm going to stop the presentation. Maybe put the link again just to make sure. Thank you so much. And I'm going to stop the recording at this point. If you want to share your screen, show me what happened. If you want to ask a particular question and don't want to be recorded, it's not going to be recorded. And I